But yes, going to apologise to anybody coming in right now. We've got a special request to cast this match, or at least this first game, as an Aussie. And we have to do what chat says. That's how it be. So let's get into game number 1. Spawning in the upper left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we've got the red Terran player for the Shopify Rebellion. ByuN. What a lad. His opponent in the lower right, returning from his military service, ready to kick some ass, take some names, and hopefully take down his Terran opponent. It's none other than Stats. Still representing Africa. The freaks. The man's a freak. Now, I do miss Stats, because Stats is one of the most standard, solid Protoss players. And I think Protoss is in a good spot for some specific but standard play. I think we've really gotten to a point where standard Protoss can be alright.
Wow.
And I'm really excited to see what Stats can bring back to Protoss, since we've had Hero really leading the charge and Mexpex, who are both just insane, crazy people. Stats is the complete opposite of both of them. So I'd love to see him bring us something new. ByuN already trapping the probe. That's rude, inappropriate. Don't love it. Skynet, thank you so kindly for the 6-month resubscription. Or we'll get burritos with Apop. In fact, Apop asked me if I could go to dinner tonight, but I said no, I gotta cast some StarCraft. And he said, right on you, mate. Cast some of that. Stats, pretty standard opening. ByuN as well. Factory before CC, so perhaps a little bit safe, or perhaps he's planning on going for some aggression. Hard to say. It is going to be the CC down, so probably nothing special here, but not a Reaper expand, notably. And against Stats, you could probably Reaper expand every single game. So, bit of an odd choice here from ByuN. Tells me, I think he wants to get a bit aggressive with this. We do see the Widow Mines, but I think we're going to see Marines out of here as well. Perhaps it'll be some sort of combination Marine Widow Mine drop. Something like that. You're right, Dave. I should invite Stats to the KSL. We haven't seen him play in one yet, but he's playing in the EPT Weekly here. No reason why we shouldn't be able to get him into a KSL Weekly. Same prize pool. Would love to have him in there for sure. Stats is going for Phoenixes. I do like this. I'm a big fan of Phoenix openers against Terran. I think they're great against specifically Widow Mine drops and things of that nature. But as we see, ByuN gonna be picking up some Marines and some Widow Mines in this medevac here shortly. I think the Phoenixes could be quite nice against this. Now, the Marines do complicate things, but Stalkers underneath should help out quite a bit. Interested to see how this goes. Of course, a lot of it depends on Stats actually finding this with the Phoenixes, which right now, it's just going to be 2 of them, and they're just chilling in the base. 2 is a... Oh, there's no Marines in this. Alright, never mind. 2 is perfect. The Marines stayed home. So I think 2 should be quite nice here if the Stalkers are in position, if the Phoenixes are in position, but the Widow Mine's going to drop down. ByuN maybe messing up his micro a little bit, dropping them right next to each other. Oh, and he goes for the unburrow, reburrow tactic, and they both just get lifted. I don't think either of them will get a shot off. Stats cleans it up beautifully, and now he's got 3 Phoenix going out on the field. Medevac's got to run home, tail between legs. And ByuN's got to get set up here. He was building a tank, cancelled it to get the Cyclone to help defend the Phoenixes. Excellent choice, but it's not quite out yet. So the Phoenix is going to be able to grab a Marine, or SCV, excuse me, and get on out of there before the Cyclone. Stats grabs it third. This is beautiful play from Stets. Just looking excellent so far. Robo Bay going down. Of course, the classic follow-up here to the Phoenixes is going to be the Colossi. This has been coming back into popularity. And I really like to see it because I think it's just such a good, solid build. Phoenix Colossus, a really good composition. And I think it fits Stats' way of playing perfectly. So, been coming back into style right in time for Stats to take advantage of it. Well, this time we have a lock on one of the Phoenixes, but Stats still manages to get all of them out of there. Only losing that first probe. That's the only thing he's lost this whole game. Already taking some excellent trades at the start. And, of course, has that third base about to finish. No third CC here for ByuN. But with Stim, combat shields, and +1 on the way, we've got double Raven. This tells me ByuN is about to get quite aggressive here. Not seeing any siege tanks, so it is just going to be bio. But the Ravens are meant to shut down the Colossi. For Stats, it's really important that he kills at least one of these Ravens, but even then, I think they're both going to have enough energy to double shut down the Colossi. Which means potentially 4 shutdowns if Stats is not able to kill one of the Ravens. And that could be a bit of a problem. The later ByuN moves out, though, the better it is for Stats. He's already got the 2 Colossi. He's got 2 shield batteries down here at the third base. Charge is on the way. Thermalance is nearly done. I don't think Charge will be done, though. ByuN's pushing out right now. The Phoenixes are going to spot this. Lifts up the Cyclone so that he can save the Phoenixes, but the Phoenixes know this is coming. ByuN is pushing across the map. He's got a lot of army supply, and he's got a really good army. It's about to have Stim. The +1 is a little bit late. Could be a bit of a problem. Are we going to see a shutdown go down here? Interference Matrix. So far, Stats just holding on. Building a cannon. Shuts down one of the Colossi. Shuts down the second one. And now there's not a lot of DPS to help out with this army. Phoenix is coming in, lifting up some units. There is a third Colossus about to pop. One of these is about to come off the Interference Matrix. But the other one got shut down again. And a fourth shutdown here is absolutely brutal. This Colossus doesn't quite make it out. And now ByuN is stimming into the natural. He's trying to take down the Nexus. But there's more Zealots warping in. The probes come back. ByuN lifts up to go into the main base, but it's only 1 medevac full of units. I think Stats can handle this. And Stats holds on. He's lost a lot of workers. 17 workers going down. But remember, he's on 3 bases. The third CC for ByuN isn't done yet. So as ByuN gets out of there, the supply is still slightly in the Terrans' favor. He is still up on workers, but Stats is going to be chrono boosting out probes at this point. The Colossi, while they were shut down, Stats was very good about keeping them back, not letting them auto move forward. And now we've got 3 Colossi here for Stats. And I don't think there's any Raven energy. 1 Raven. Does have 1 shutdown. That's not nearly as powerful as it was before. Stats somehow holding, and that is really the name of the game for him. Stats constantly able to be on the defensive. Looks like he's about to die. He's down a bunch of army supply, but he just straight up holds. And it's a beautiful, beautiful hold from him. Now, ByuN is still ahead. He has more workers. He's been building SCVs really, really nicely, keeping up in that production against the Protoss, who had the 3 bases earlier and the chrono boosts. He's still up on army supply. And, oh my god, doing these dirty Widowmine drops, getting 14 kills. Stats needs to clean that up. Oh, and 4th Widowmine into the main, or into the natural rather. And ByuN hardcore microing this, changing the targets, which means the probes cannot come back to mine. Oh, and once again, they get baited back in. He will finally let it just hit 1 probe. Stats goes back to mining, but he's lost so much. He's down nearly 20 workers. And ByuN has to be feeling fantastic right now. He's up 20 army supply, 20 workers. He's just looking great. Stats still in an okay spot. He's certainly not dead, he's just behind. The upgrade's not too bad for him. Oh, looks like he's getting some damage done on his own though. So few zealots dive in there. 6 SCVs going down, evening up the worker count quite a bit. Really, really nice work for Stats. He's still down a lot of army supply, but now he's got double disruptor production. And of course, we know disruptors don't care about upgrades. They don't care about army supply. You get 1 or 2 good hits, and ByuN's just straight up dead. So he's got to be careful about that. He has a lot of Vikings, though, and he's going to shut down 1 Colossus right away. Stats was just not ready for this. The first disruptor dies. The BIOS stims up the ramp. And I don't know if Stats is enough to deal with it. The Natural's in a lot of trouble. Where are the other disruptors? I think there was one down on the low ground, but it's dead as well. GG gets called, and ByuN takes game number 1. And that Aussie accent was really, really terrible. And I'm sorry about it. But the good news is, I did say I was just going to do it for 1 game. Which means for game 2, you don't have to listen to a terrible Aussie accent. Just my terrible American accent. For some reason, I got really, like, gritty with it. I feel like it sounded better when I did that. We almost started the game with Steadfast in the player's spot. But not quite. All right, game number 2. I'm gonna drink some water. That Aussie accent hurt the throat a little bit. Whew. Game number 2. Honestly, that game was a banger. That was really, really good. It's really exciting to see our boy Stats coming back. And like looking solid. That first attack from ByuN felt like it should have just killed Stats. He had 4 Raven shutdowns, 4 interference matrices, and there were 2 Colossi. It felt like there's no way Stats holds. Maybe if the 3rd Colossus comes out, but it didn't. Of course, ByuN was able to get enough damage done where the follow-up did kill Stats. But I feel like still always so insanely impressive how Stats is able to just hold against everything. He and Showtime, I think, really share that ability. And I've always thought of them as very similar Protosses. I do feel like I haven't seen Showtime quite as much in the last year or so, though. But really excited to have Stats back. I mean, genuinely, he plays so differently from Hero. I am a little bit worried for Stats, though, because, like I said, I haven't seen a ton from Showtime, I feel like, in the last year. He's definitely, like, he's still a very good player. But I wonder if the meta is going to be good for Stats. Because it's good for Hero, and usually that means it's terrible for Stats, right? Oh, didn't quite get the block. CC goes down. ByuN is just going for Reaper Expand this time. I'm glad you guys like the Aussie accent. It's genuinely hard to keep up, though. Like, I could feel it slipping and sliding into other, like, English adjacent languages, English adjacent accents. And I had to, like, pull it back. It's particularly hard to do any sort of play-by-play with an accent, any accent, really. It's really hard to do a play-by-play because that's just like, there's so much speaking. It's already hard to do sometimes in just my normal voice, but with the accent, it feels impossible. Feels like I'm talking so much slower. Now, ByuN's going for a quick 3rd command center. He's got a 2nd Rax behind this. So Stats is going to be at a pretty significant disadvantage economically if he just kind of plays like he did last game. The big problem for Stats last game is that it feels like he didn't get a super good scout off on what ByuN was doing. And because he's not maybe quite as familiar with this meta right now with what's been going on in the game, it's a little bit harder to have that game sense that I think a lot of players really rely on. A lot of the pro players really rely on game sense because you do have imperfect information. So sometimes you have to make an assumption based on what's likely to be happening. And when you haven't been playing as much, you haven't been playing in the tournaments or anything like that. And I don't know how much Stats has been laddering, or if he was laddering while he was in the military, like I know ByuN was, but some players don't have the chance to. I'm not too sure, so I'm kind of interested to see where Stats ends up at. And last game, like the Phoenix opener against the Widowmine drop ended up going great for him, so that's a good start. He did hold, but he took a lot of damage to the attack, and then just wasn't quite able to hold the second attack, right? Pretty straightforward. Good play from Stats, but just better play from ByuN, I guess. Something of that nature. Good builds from ByuN. Well, I'm interested to see what he does here, and if he tries to change it up at all, because again, he doesn't have any information. He doesn't know what ByuN is going for. And ByuN is going to have quite a bit of bio up. So it looks like Stats is just going to grab a third base. His Robo's finished up, so I'm imagining we're going to see the Robo Bay. There it is. Yeah, and he's just doing the same thing as last game. So my gut tells me Stats is still trying to figure out the meta a little bit. He's playing a pretty standard solid style, which is what we expect from him. And he feels maybe just confident enough in the standard solid play. But he also might know that ByuN's going to be pretty heavily favored against him. ByuN is one of the best players in the world. I think Oligulike has him at rank 3 right now, behind only Serral and Maru. So for Stats, this is an extraordinarily difficult match to start off with in the ESL Open Cup. I do hope we get him in KSL, because if he wants to practice against other players, we should be able to get him queued up against, you know, some people he might be a little bit more favored against than ByuN, the second best Terran in the world. But this is really nice. I mean, already, see, now we're seeing the scout. ByuN, yes, he's got the third CC, but Stats is still up on workers. And his Nexus is in position already. So ByuN's had this third CC for a while, but it's only just now heading out. Stats has got to be feeling okay about this position. There's 2 medevacs popping, but I don't think ByuN really wants to... Like, I don't think he can necessarily go. I say as he just straight up goes, but this is the danger, right? He could fly into these Phoenixes at any moment. Which direction do you go? Where is Stats going right now? How far back is he going? There's an observer right here that's going to spot these 2 medevacs. The question is, does Stats know they're full? And yeah, he does. I thought the army was going to be going with him. He knows they're full, and Stats is just going to go straight back in. He's going to check and see what's going on here, maybe try to pick off a couple of units while he sends his units up into the main base, because he knows exactly where these medevacs are going, right? They were headed towards the main. They're going to hit here. There's a Colossus. There's a second one on the way. There's even an Immortal in here. I think Stats should be pretty well defended back at home. And ByuN spots this. He's got to pick up and get out of there. He doesn't have a boost, but there's only a couple of Stalkers. But the Phoenixes are coming home. ByuN's going to have to drop out. His probe is actually not in position on the tower. There's a bit of a problem, but ByuN pulls back anyways. And yeah, excellent defense from Stats. This is exactly what he's looking for. That being said, ByuN's got the third base. He didn't really lose anything out on the map, right? It was like 2 Marines. He did lose a few Marines to the Phoenixes as well. But the worker count's even. There's no 4th base here for Stats. So ByuN's macro is going to be popping off as well. And it looks like he's heading into Widow Mines. Interested if we're going to see any Vikings out of him. He did go for some Vikings last game. But last game was a bit of a different situation. The 2-base, not all in, but very committed 2-base push into a much delayed third that only really worked because he killed 17 probes. This looks like
much more straightforward bio macro right now. He might eventually get into Vikings, but not at the moment. Did he just F2 and stim? Oh, he totally did. ByuN just F2 and stimmed, and I imagine that was because he had like this control group and this control group, and he just wanted to say screw it and bring everything into the fight. Stats very smartly backed up to the high ground and didn't really take the fight. Ended up working out well for him. That's kind of funny. ByuN just ends up stimming units from the main. That's the move I would do. Army's pushing out to take this fourth, but there's a much larger army for ByuN over here. Scans doesn't see an observer, but this probe is about to spot this army, but will it be too late? Stats is not that close to this base. And ByuN is just waiting to hit over here as well. Big stim in. Gonna go for the shield batteries first. Good move. Doesn't feel like he can take down the Nexus. Decides to just back up, but at the same time forces a cancel on the left. Stats having a bit of a difficult time dealing with both armies at once, and ByuN in the meantime has a fourth base started up. Now there are some Zealots in a Prism sneaking by. They're going to spot that fourth base building. I love this move. This is so good from Stats. He drops one Zealot to delay that fourth base. Now he's going to drop a few into the natural. He looks like he's going to warp into the main. Oh no, he's just going to leave. Gets the Zealots out of there. But this is all pulling ByuN's focus back. It's literally pulling his army back, because he's got to make sure to deal with this. And it looks like the recall already happened. I don't think the Prism died. It must have been recalled. There it is. Really nice play from Stats. He did not leave anything out there. He didn't overcommit with the Prism. He didn't even try to warp in. He just said, few Zealots are going to drop out. Wastes nothing. Recalls the Prism. Gets it out of there. And now his fourth base is nearly done. He delayed ByuN's enough where they're going to be done around the same time. ByuN is up quite a few workers, though. Stats got to get on the probe building and maybe start sending him over here. He's down 10 workers. It's a bit of a problem. That being said, if he maxes on 67 workers, he's going to have a big, beefy army. He's already got a ton of disruptors out. Was that like 6 disruptors? 6 of them. And, you know, no matter how good your EMPs are, it's going to be tough, especially pushing up a ramp, pushing through a choke like this. ByuN needs to be very careful. ByuN going for the split, and I love this. It worked so well for him earlier. Now, these Zealots are going to find this, but, oh, Stats needs to split appropriately. See some EMPs going off, super shield battery going off though, and that's not enough army for ByuN to fight. On the other side, he pulls back just in time to avoid a couple of those Disruptor Novas. There should be plenty more where that came from though, unless Stats fire them all. Okay, it looks like he's got 1 or 2 more available. He's gonna send him out, ByuN not watching, but he does kill the Nexus. So I would say worth it. Wow, everything that doesn't get picked up dies. Stats is just gonna move across the map. These Zealots are getting cleaned up, but the rest of the army is about to be here. 3 Colossi in all. ByuN's dropping into the main base. This army doesn't deal with Zealots super well, though. So I think if the Zealots just go for it, maybe wait for one more warp in, he should be good. Stats needs to get damaged on the other side of the map, though. He can't just sit and dilly-dally. He's got to kill stuff. The Disruptors are not here yet, but they're about to pop over. ByuN's army, though, doing a great job on this side of the map. I don't know where those Zealots went. They must have just straight up died. There's still a few in the main. But it looks like that little drop ended up doing a lot more than maybe expected. Stat's going to throw some Novas out back. Doesn't get the best connections in the world. He's focus firing down the planetary. He will get it. Disruptor Nova's just trying to hold on the backside, but the Vikings taking down the Colossi, and Whittle Mines kill the Disruptors. 3 of them left. I don't know if there's a shot available, though. I think Stats needs to get the hell out of there. He's going to go for the recall, and ByuN should just pick up and get out of here as quickly as possible. Blinkstalker is going to try to get on top of a medevac, but don't quite make it, and Stats' base got absolutely demolished in that period of time. That being said, ByuN lost his 4th. He lost a bunch of workers, but Stats is down 20 right now. And Stats' 4th base died as well, so his is rebuilding. But the income, I think, is going to favor ByuN a little bit, or at least be kind of even. And ByuN's moving right back in. I don't think Stats is ready for this. He's going to send a Disruptor Nova out, but it gets picked off immediately. Another Nova goes forward. ByuN just backs up. There's only 2 here. That Super Shield Battery only lasts for so long. But ByuN's going to back up. The Observer here is crucial. At the same time, he's hitting with that same 2 medevac drop from earlier. And the Ghosts here, really, really valuable. That's probably why he was able to kill those Zealots earlier in the main. Stats is waiting in the main with some Stalkers. So these units can't really drop back into it. I don't think ByuN has realized that this base was taken as a 4th, because he for sure could have just stimmed up and killed it. But the fact that he didn't notice it is actually huge. And Stats also holding this watchtower, going to be able to spot that. It's pretty huge, but he is down 40 supply. He hasn't built any probes. He's still at just 46. His army supply is down. The quality of his army is pretty damn good. He is down an upgrade, but I think with all of the complexity of his army, he should be feeling okay. However, the complexity of his army doesn't really... Oh my god! I was going to say it doesn't split very well, and that is still true, as ByuN is drawing pretty much the entire army into the natural with like 12 units. And at the same time, he just crushes through the 4th, kills all the probes in here, kills a bunch of probes in the natural as well. Yeah, that Disruptor hit was insane. This Disruptor has 24 kills, and a lot of it was that one hit. But Stats needs like 3 more of those, I think. And now look at these Disruptors. Disruptors, fun fact, don't kill Liberators. I meant to say look at the Liberators. Words are hard, guys. Units are difficult. Yeah, Disruptors don't kill Liberators. Neither do Colossi. In fact, none of Stats' army except these Stalkers really kills Liberators, and the Stalkers die pretty hardcore to the Marauders, as do a lot of these other units. So Stats might be in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to start trying to push up. Again, he's way down in workers. He's retaking a 4th, but look at ByuN just move around with this. Oh no, and Stats is going to eat the same Widow Mine shots. These Widow Mines already killed some Disruptors, but he's going to blink on top of the Liberators. There's another Planetary here, but I don't know if the Planetary is really going to be enough to hold on. Disruptor Nova zoning the Bio Army. Stats moving back, but he's taking some big damage. The Liberator's doing such a good job. Oh, and the Vikings taking down the Colossi, and that's what the Bio Army was really scared of. Stats is forced to tap out. Bit of a slugfest in game 2 there, but it felt like ByuN was the one largely on the offensive. There was one big counterattack. I guess there were 2 big counterattacks with that last one from Stats, but most of it felt like ByuN putting the pressure on, keeping the pressure on, and not letting Stats out of his sights the whole time. Stats trying desperately to split his army, but it just wasn't enough.